Why was the refrigerator invented? To store food for a longer time, that's logical. But very often we put foods in the fridge that actually don't belong there, that spoil faster in the fridge, lose their properties, and should be stored somewhere else. Some of these foods in this list may surprise you, so watch the video to the end. In it, we will go over in detail which foods should not be stored in the fridge. So let's go! Food number 1 is potatoes. Not coincidentally, in villages they are stored in cellars. That's a pretty good option, because it's still better than the fridge. The problem with storing potatoes in the fridge is that the potato starch transforms into glucose due to the cold temperature maintained in the fridge, and consuming excess sugar is not recommended, as I have said many times on this channel. Moreover, the taste of the potatoes deteriorates too. What's more, it has been proven that if we store potatoes at temperatures below 3 degrees Celsius and then cook them, carcinogens start forming in the potatoes, which is already dangerous for our health. The next product not recommended to store in the fridge is onions. The reason is that onions can get moldy in the fridge. As you may have noticed, this periodically happens, especially if there is slightly higher humidity. Onions should be stored just like potatoes in a dry, slightly cool place, not as cold as the fridge. There is one more circumstance: never store potatoes and onions in one pile together. When they are together, spoilage processes only intensify, and the product goes bad and gets moldy much faster. So always separate onions and potatoes. Let's continue. The next item is honey. Honey is actually a unique product that practically has no expiration date, and often if we look at the honey label there is even directly written no expiration date. There are even certain calculations that good, real, quality honey without any additives has a shelf life of about 2,000 years. Sounds cool, of course. I don't know who tested this, but in any case there's plenty for our lifetime. For these reasons, there is no point in putting honey in the fridge. It will keep perfectly fine at room temperature. It is recommended to store honey in a dark cabinet so that sunlight doesn't hit it, because sunlight destroys some beneficial elements in it. But if we put honey in the fridge, it negatively affects its physical consistency. We simply disrupt its viscosity. And here's one life hack: if you bought honey and put it in the freezer at below 0 temperature, and the honey remained liquid, then this means the manufacturing technology was violated and it is low-quality honey that has no real benefit for our body. Let's continue. The next item is citrus fruits. This includes oranges, lemons, grapefruits, pomelos, etc. Surprisingly, they also should not be put in the fridge, because there they will spoil, mold, and rot much faster. Let's continue. Greens. Here's an interesting point: we very often do put greens in the fridge, but what does this lead to? The greens start wilting very quickly, and they also lose vitamins and beneficial antioxidants quite fast as a result of these processes. And we eat greens largely due to their potential benefits. And even worse, sometimes people put greens in the fridge in a plastic bag. We're just guaranteeing that all our greens will quickly become moldy, and it will certainly be impossible and unnecessary to eat them. By the way, there is one nuance here: if a small speck of mold appears in a large bag, it doesn't mean we can just cut off that piece of mold and calmly eat the rest of the product. No, if mold appears, you need to throw out the whole package, because if we remove that speck, we remove just the tip of the iceberg. While mold spores have certainly already spread throughout the entire product, we just can't see them, but they are there, and it is unsafe to consume them. So if a product has mold, just cutting off the moldy slice unfortunately means having to get rid of the whole product. So it's best not to let it get to that point. So how should greens actually be stored? Here, strangely enough, nutrition experts recommend freezing greens in the freezer. This is the optimal option for preserving their taste and beneficial vitamins and minerals. Moreover, research has shown that freezing greens is even better than drying them, because the taste and vitamins are also preserved better. Let's continue. The next item is olive oil. Well, I think many of us have noticed ourselves that if you put olive oil in the fridge, it just freezes and becomes solid. And here, by the way, there is a certain life hack for checking olive oil for counterfeits. One way is to put it in the fridge, and if it doesn't freeze, doesn't become solid, then this is 100% fake olive oil. On the other hand, some fakes are quite high quality and they freeze too, so freezing doesn't guarantee it's a quality product. So let's continue. The optimal temperature for olive oil is 12 degrees Celsius to 16 degrees Celsius. Of course, buying a separate wine fridge to store olive oil to maintain that temperature is probably too fancy, so storing olive oil at room temperature is absolutely acceptable. Let's continue. Garlic. I think many of us have noticed how garlic that has been in the fridge for some time starts sprouting at an incredible rate, and there are just little trees growing out of it. Even though it's cold, life should stop, but no, in garlic it only starts, and the taste also decreases due to humidity. Garlic becomes soft and useless for cooking. So again, dryness and slight coolness are essential. And by the way, it has long been noted that products like potatoes, onions, and garlic are never recommended to store in tight bags, where there is no normal air circulation, because this also promotes sprouting and rotting. The only exception is peeled onions. It is indeed acceptable to wrap those in a bag. In other cases, no. Let's continue. Watermelon. If we buy a good juicy watermelon, it is not recommended to put it in the fridge because this leads to loss of its benefits. In particular, we lose very valuable carotenoids that are so good for our body. The only exception is if we have already cut the watermelon into slices, then it really makes sense to put it in the fridge. And oddly, here it is worth wrapping it in plastic wrap in the fridge. By the way, friends, how do you store these products in the fridge or not? Or maybe you know other examples of how to properly store some products. Share in the comments, it will be interesting. And now I highly recommend subscribing to my Telegram channel where I talk all about a healthy lifestyle. There you will find many great tips and observations that can prolong your life. Bye for now.